Are you in a position where you're just very scared of money and you feel completely out of control and it's out of your hands? Well, today I'm going to talk about working through financial fear in this episode. Now, money is something that certainly I feared in my life. I've been in places where I've been terrified to look at my bank statements, my credit cards, my bills, or like how much money did I spend the other night, all these kind of things, right? I haven't looked at my bank account for a few days. I'm like, oh, I'm terrified. Oh my God. What if that charge goes through and all these kind of things. And I've had a lack of certainty in my ability to make it as well. And I know that speaking to other people, I'm not alone in that capacity as well. It often came from a feeling of certainty that I couldn't make the money back because if you lost like £100, but you knew you could make like 200 quid back very quickly, you wouldn't worry about the £100. But if you didn't have belief that you can make the money back or make money very well, you probably have a little bit more fear, right? Now, I'm not saying go out and lose money if you're quite good at making it. Definitely not, like intentionally. But often I found it's about certainty. And that's what the fear came around, like, oh, what's going to happen? Any kind of uncertainty really, really scared me. Now, with no, I really wanted to talk about this today because often, and I've made a couple of financial confidence ones recently, but often it comes from our beliefs from a young age that like money is scarce and there's not enough of it to go around, and that's all just stories that are made up from people coming from their own fears. And often we're programmed a lot these days to like hear that there's a lack of money. Is there really? Or is it just where it's going at the moment? Because the chances are it could come to you if you think about it in the right way as well, more and more. So how's your money story serving you right now? How's the fear of money going? It's probably not doing you so good. And like I said, I used to be so terrified to like spend anything, and it really scared me. And I've changed that belief since. I'm not a multi-millionaire yet, but I certainly have a better relationship with money now. So here's some steps to really working through financial fear. Okay, the first one is, why is making a certain amount of money or having a certain amount of money a must for you? Now, come at this from the perspective of not fear. Come at it like you're going to do it and why that's a must and why you're really going to make it a drive to do it. Why is it an absolute must that you must make money? Okay, not just like, oh, it'd be good to have a nice car or whatever. Why is that absolutely critical for you? Because a nice to have or may do is not the same as I absolutely must. When you're committed, you can always find a way, I believe. The second one is have a defined, clear target. Often our fear comes because we're like, oh, I need like millions of dollars to get out of this or become or this. But it's like, no, what is your target? What do you want? And don't just think about, I need this to pay the bills off. What do you want to live a high quality life? Get very clear on that. I remember going to Wealth Mastery with Tony Robbins, and one guy was saying, oh, he needed like millions and millions to live his dream life. And then they did an exercise when they calculated it out, and he needed like less than 500,000 a year to live his like dream luxury life. Now that's obviously a lot of money. It's not like just that. But it was just sometimes we just don't define. We're not very clear. So get very clear on your target when you're thinking about money. My third one to work through in terms of this financial fear is looking at your numbers daily. The more you do this, it may be uncomfortable at first, the more you're going to get more you're going to get attuned with where you actually are. And actually, when you can get more truthful with yourself, that's when more confidence comes. Because when you don't know where you are, you don't know what's a good starting point. And then we can start seeing numbers change for a positive. That's going to build your confidence as well with money. And then the final thing I want to say is I'm not giving you money strategy today. I'm talking about ways about thinking about it. But if you're going to get guidance, or what people may term inverted commas advice, make sure it's advice and it's not an opinion. And what's the difference between the two? Advice is when someone is walking their talk and they really are doing well with something and you can learn from them to get good like them. Opinion is everything else, right? So for example, your friend who gives you advice about money but is like paying his credit card bill off every month, struggling, maybe comfortably living with his bills, maybe okay, and then he's telling you how to become a millionaire. Don't listen to a word because he doesn't know, because he's not living it. Maybe watch some YouTube videos, but that's not him, right? Or them or her, right? So advice is only advice from people. You know, lots of people I've heard the advice, and this is just an example. I'm not like personally, it's not for me, but I'm not saying it's not for other people, right? A lot of people I know, it's all about like put money down for a house, get a house, save for a house, and yeah, and that's going to save you money on renting. Now, I listen to people like Grant Cardone. He's like, don't buy a house, and he's like a billionaire or close to, and he's like, don't buy a house because you need to invest in yourself. And you know what? Investing in myself has worked pretty well for me in terms of the skill sets and the opportunities I've attracted, right? And I don't want to go too much into that debate, but like typically I wouldn't have, if I just listened to everything everyone said, like friends and family, I would not have the skill set I do right now. I would not be a top 1% podcaster if I like went for the, you know, suddenly went for the mortgage option. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but for me, I just pay attention to who's giving me the guidance. If you want to live a very comfortable life like the person who's giving you the advice, it is advice because you want their life. But if someone's giving you advice about how to become a millionaire and they've never earned more than 100,000 a year, that's not advice, that's an opinion. So be very cautious about who you're listening to, because often people will inflict fear into us as well. So if someone's telling you all these things that go wrong, but really they don't have a control on their own money, don't listen to them. It's not that they're bad people, it's just people like to give their opinions and then call it advice, right? So that's what I want to share with you on that one as well. So I appreciate you for being here today. So just to recap my points on working through financial fear and becoming more in control. Number one, understanding why it's a must to take control of your finances and what that's going to look like. Number two is what it's going to look like is actually what are the targets, what are you moving towards. Number three is looking at your numbers daily, making sure every single day you look at your numbers so you can look at the truth. And then the fourth one is don't listen to bad, what people call advice, because it's not there's not bad advice. It's just not advice. It's an opinion. Listen to people who give advice who have come from a place of experience when you're thinking about money, because often they're coming from a very abundance perspective and they've not got that scarcity. So I'd recommend listening to them, even if it's just someone you don't know, like a millionaire or billionaire, and you're listening to them on like audio. That's really, really useful as well. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here, and remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.